It's not something you see on Oahu's South Shore very often, but it happened this week. KITV4's Catherine Cruz has the latest on marine debris that surfers brought into shore.
A tangled mess of fishnet and buoys, about 1,000 pounds of it, is headed to be burned at the city's garbage-to-energy plant. It took about a half a dozen people to get it out of the water at Kiwalas when it turned up Tuesday night. Surfer Ikaya Lewis was surprised to see them wrestling it over the breakwater wall.
Very, very unusual, because we surf here like every day, and I never seen that big of a debris before here. So we actually thought there was an animal trapped inside that they were trying to release, but then they put it out and they just took it to the trash.
Kewala Basin's harbor master can only recall debris turning up in the harbor once before in the last 4 years. Last week's Kona winds may have pushed the ocean trash onshore.
If you'll remember last week when it did wash up, we had south winds and had south winds for several days. So when you have the onshore winds, you're more likely to get marine debris washing up.
Barkley said there are no clues to indicate if the nets came from Japan or if it's just the standard stuff that's been floating around in the open ocean. But the disposal of this mess is relatively easy compared to what the state is dealing with on the Big Island. This unusually large metal container that turned up recently may be costly to remove. The state has authorized up to $100,000 for the undertaking.
Because it's in such a remote area, I mean, that could be in terms of airlift, it could be in terms of pulling it back into the water and towing it to someplace. It could be cutting it into smaller pieces and then taking out via airlift.
The container isn't posing a hazard, so there isn't an urgent need to dispose of it immediately, but the state is getting quotes from companies to begin the process.
Now, Isla says DLNR plans to ask lawmakers for a couple of $1 million in next year's budget to deal with the growing marine debris cleanup. And he says Japan has offered some money to the U.S. to help with the tsunami debris. So we'll see if Hawaii actually gets some of those funds. Back to you.